Welcome back to my channel where I like to talk about saving, investing, and everything money. And today we are going to be talking about mistakes. More specifically, some investing mistakes that I've made throughout my 5 to 6 years in the stock market. So if you're into that kind of thing, stick around and we will get right into the video. There are 4 mistakes that I made during my investing journey that I had to learn in order to become the best investor that I could. And as you guys all know, investing is a learning process and you have to do some trial and error or a lot of research in order to find where you fit in on the investing spectrum. Where I fit in is definitely with index fund investing. It's very easy, slow and steady. But I made a lot of mistakes getting there, and let's start with the first one, which was not investing with enough money. So with some investors that just start off, I think you get really interested and intrigued by the thought of investing and making money from having these investments and owning parts of a company. All of that really gets you so excited that I think it comes with a bit of, there's no nice way to say it, delusion. That was the case for me. When I first started investing, I was a bit delusional. I did think that I would be able to put in $50 into some random stock and then I would wake up the next day and it would be $2,000. So because of that, I really wasn't taking investing seriously, in that you need to contribute in order to see some output. So I would start off with $100, $50, and then I would invest for months, and then I would do $20 here and $30 here. And over time, I wouldn't really have any income or growth to show for it, which causes discouragement, and it got me off of investing. In the beginning, it made me feel like maybe this isn't for me, and maybe I just wasn't in the right place in the finance world. Mistake number 2 that I made on my investment journey is selling too much too fast. Obviously, there are a lot of issues with buying and selling individual stocks that aren't going to be covered in this video, but the issues that I ran into with individual stocks in general was selling when things were bad and buying when things were good, and not being able to just hold on to my investments and watch them grow over time. This was one of my biggest downfalls, just because I didn't take into account taxes. I didn't take into account the fact that I was actually losing time in the market, which is what gives you your overall gain. Like I said, every time the market was going up, I was in there, I was buying, and then every time it was going down, I was selling, which means over time I was actually losing money on my investments. So the first 8 to 10 grand that I did invest into the stock market when I first graduated college didn't make me any money. If anything, I lost more than I gained. At this time, when I first started investing, commission fees were a thing. So you were paying $5, $2, sometimes even $8 to $10 per transaction. So as you guys know, when you are paying commission fees, when you are investing in stocks, you want to wait until you have a good amount of money to invest in the stock market so that you're not eating away at your actual income making revenue, right? So because I was putting in small amounts, I was putting in $20, $50, $100 here and there, it was actually taking between $5 and $10 with each transaction, which means I wasn't getting the bang for my buck. The commissions becoming extinct when they did was honestly one of my biggest blessings. My third mistake in my investing journey was using Trendy brokerages. Now, I'm not trying to hate on Robinhood. I think it's a good entry point, but I had choices: Schwab, Fidelity, TD Ameritrade, Vanguard, and I chose Robinhood because at the time it was free, but also because that's what I heard about the most. That's what I thought the cool kids were doing. All the people that were rich and actually making money, they were using Robinhood, because for some reason I thought that the brokerage that you chose determined the amount of money that you made in the market. It didn't click to me that it's the same market, just a different vehicle. So that's embarrassing, but that is the mindset that I had. And some of the issues that I did see with, going with the trendier brokerages was that, there were high traffic times, there were slow load times because of that. There were a lot of crashes because of that, a lot of bugs. Because it was still relatively up and coming, it wasn't the most reliable vehicle for investing. Add on top of that the weird sketchy savings happenings, and then times where you can't trade when you want to. Think GME stock or AMC stock. It made me come to realize that when I did leave Robinhood, it was a good decision. I couldn't imagine not being able to trade some of the stocks that some people weren't able to do during that time last year. My fourth and final big mistake that I made during my investment journey is investing solely off of the dividends. I was so obsessed with making money just by having my money sitting in the stock market that I was focused on dividend investing instead of growth investing. So not only did I miss out on a lot of growth over that period of the bull run that I had between 2016 to 2020, not only did I miss out on some of that growth, but also I lost money because I didn't do any research on some of the stocks that I chose. For example, one stock that I was completely obsessed with was SPHD, which is an S&P 500 ETF. It pays monthly. At the time, I think it paid 14 cents. It might pay 15 cents now. The only reason why I chose that stock is because it paid a monthly dividend. I was obsessed with getting income every month. I didn't really take into account that you can buy dividend paying stocks that pay at different times in each quarter and put them together that way so that you're paid every month. I wanted to do it the easy way, put it in one stock that paid you every month, but you didn't have to do any work. Mind you, SPHD is not the worst stock, or ETF rather, to put your money in because it is the S&P 500 ETF, so it's diversified enough, but it isn't the best performing one. It's not the best performing S&P 500 index or ETF. So I was ignoring the fact that it wasn't really doing well overall and just clinging on to the fact that I was making $15 a month. I was so obsessed with knowing that I was making that little bit of money every month, or I was ignoring the valuation of the stock. I was ignoring the fact that it wasn't going up over time. I was ignoring that there are better performing S&P 500 ETFs out there, all because I wanted to get that $15 every month. So I really wasn't weighing out my options with that one. And then the second example of one that I really had no business owning was Vodafone. My German people who watch this, Vodafone, I know you guys know what that is. I had no idea. I literally went on to dividata.com and I looked at what X dates were coming up, what dividends were coming up, and I saw Vodafone. I'm pretty sure Dividata gave it a low rating for dividend security, but I only cared about how much it was paying. So not only did I only care about how much the dividends were, I wasn't looking into like the future. I was only looking at what was paid last time. So I thought Vodafone was a monthly paying stock. I don't think it is. I was expecting to get like $4 per share on Vodafone. So I remember buying a whole bunch of shares, and then like it really wasn't a profitable stock pick at the time. And I remember one of my German friends that I used to work with seeing that in my stock portfolio because I was bragging because I thought I was about to get $4 per share with like all these shares. And I remember her being like, Vodafone sucks. Like, I know what that is. That's trash. It's a terrible phone service. So if you're German and you're watching this, let me know. Does Vodafone suck? Because I've never used it in my life. I just know that I was trying to get that dividend and I never got that dividend. In fact, I sold at a loss and I ended up losing like $200. So that's embarrassing, but that was like my worst investment that I've ever had in my life. That wraps up my 4 biggest mistakes during my investment journey that I made in order to get to where I am now. I would say what I learned from all of my mistakes, honestly, is to just stick with what you know. Do your research, okay? Don't just go based off of what someone is saying. I would also say that I learned just to be patient, not to check my investments every single day. I used to really like get up in arms when my investments would go up, and then really sad when it would go down. And I just remember it just taking over. I would be up late just looking up stocks that paid dividends this month and when I can get the next dividend payment, just chasing dividends. And now I have learned to just not look at it. Every once in a while I will look at it now, but I am a lot more passive in my Roth IRA at least. And that has actually helped me see a whole bunch of growth that you guys have probably seen if you follow me on Instagram. That is pretty much the mistakes that I made in my investment journey. I am very curious to hear what mistakes you guys have made, or if you guys have made the same mistakes that I have. What is the worst stock that you have ever bought with no research in? If you made that mistake, I'm very curious to know. And thank you guys again for watching, and I will see you next time.